Mara McDonald going to pick things up there for us at that point.
And Mara, what happens in the courtroom today, pretty much mostly procedural, right?
Devin, exactly. A simple arraignment, except the person being arraigned is for crimes allegedly committed while he was still president of the United States. Now, this is the third indictment former President Trump has had in the last 4 to 5 months. Take a look. Federal courts do not allow cameras in their courtrooms, so there will be no video of the former president putting in his plea at arraignment, which was not guilty. Outside the federal courthouse, attorney and Trump ally Alina Habba addressed reporters.
This is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president, for either party.
The Trump camp saying this afternoon the latest indictment is all politics, while the Department of Justice is trying to prove the former president tried to undermine the will of the voters after being told repeatedly he lost the election and the legal challenges failed. The former president is facing 4 felony counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government.
President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before.
Today's arraignment is just the beginning here. Don't expect a speedy trial. The discovery in this case will likely take months. Devin, Karen, back to you.
It is the beginning of a very long and arduous odyssey, no doubt. All right, Mara. Now, as the former president is arraigned for the 3rd time, there is still the potential for more legal trouble to come on the horizon.
Trump has been the target of an investigation in Georgia into efforts to overturn the results of the election there. The Fulton County prosecutor says indictments will be brought by the middle of the month. The county sheriff also says that if the former president is indicted, he will not receive any special treatment and will be booked and processed like any other defendant, including having a booking photo.
So a historic day, and our coverage is going to continue over this next 90 minutes of news. We're going to be constantly dropping in to update you on what is going on in Washington as we will continue to follow the former president's progress, making his way back to New Jersey. Ahead at 5:30, we're going to be joined by former U.S. Attorney Matthew Schneider to help walk us through how all of this works. We'll get his insight into these charges. That's coming up again at 5:30. We are also streaming live pictures on clickondetroit.com and Local 4 Plus. We're kind of running a best of all of these cameras that are available to us this afternoon, courtesy of NBC News in both Washington and New York. We will continue to follow the pictures there, and we are expecting the president here, former president here, to come out, emerge at any moment. Again, he could have, earlier today, he could have made his appearance via video, but wanted to do this in person. That was his choice, and obviously every time that so far that these charges have been brought, they seem to have strengthened the resolve of both he and his political base.
He knows the audience, obviously. I mean, he knows that and there has been some word that if he did get out of that vehicle, there might be a chance that he may do some speaking as the former president is about to exit the vehicle. And we'll see if he does walk up and share any words as he typically does before he departs. Obviously, all eyes on the nation now waiting to see exactly what he's going to say. And I'm not sure if we can hear that audio.
We are working on getting, that audio opened up.
Decay and all of the broken buildings and walls and the graffiti. This is not the place that I left. It's a very sad thing to see it. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America. Thank you very much.
Do you want these trials to happen before the 2024 election?
Many experts were expecting him to say something along that line. Obviously, he was using the defensive of freedom of speech and sharing his thoughts, but obviously the prosecution thinks there are some criminal charges that he must face. And continues to talk about the way that he believes that this prosecution has been weaponizing arms of government against him. Obviously, these charges will have to stand on their own to that account, and this is, again, just the beginning of what will be a long number of months as we make our way forward. Much more to come on this throughout this next 90 minutes of news.